Can I get into my Hamilton rant?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, you can't get to the
I've been
internet
getting it
anyway.
off the air all morning long. Share it on the air.
Anybody who's listened to the show for a lengthy period of time knows the high esteem that I hold one Alexander Hamilton, my favorite of the founding fathers. And yesterday we find out, and the worst thing this administration has done, possibly.
Yeah, I was going to say that could be argued.
All right, put an asterisk there. We'll come back and maybe review.
No, that's subjective.
Alexander Hamilton is going to be removed from the $10 bill.
Now, there's been a little backtracking saying they may still find someplace on the bill for his portrait. It just won't be front and center.
Yeah, that'll be great. Somewhere on the back, in the corner.
Yeah, in a corner.
It's going to be a Where's Waldo.
He'll be the
Hamilton?
He'll be the watermark.
But he's taking now. This was leaked yesterday, announced last night by Jack Lew, the Treasury Secretary, and they're going to put a woman on the 10. Which woman? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter
as long as it's a woman, which seems insulting to me. I'm not a woman, right? But seems like that would be kind of insulting.
Well, yeah, it would. I think when you
that it doesn't matter which woman.
No, just we need a woman, and he's gone.
This started because there was a bunch of leftists who started a petition demanding that there be a female on currency somewhere, and their focus was on the 20. They said replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill with a woman, and there Harriet Tubman was one of the possibilities. I think she ended up winning whatever online balloting that they had going on. But their push was to change the $20 bill. Somehow, between the petition by a bunch of leftists and the decision by the leftist administration, it became the greatest founding father being replaced on the $10 bill. Why? Well, we'll get into why in a second. Why should Hamilton not be taken off the $10 bill? Well, let's see. How about he was the first Secretary of the Treasury?
Yeah, it would seem to me the only person with a direct tie into our currency is Hamilton.
Right. He was the first Secretary of the Treasury. He literally envisioned more than 200 years ago how the entire economy of this country would function. Jay Cost from the Weekly Standard was also outraged last night. We saw who the real Federalists were last night on Twitter. They came out of the woodwork. And it also resulted in my first avatar change ever on Twitter. For a long time, it's been that picture that we took, that I took in D.C. from some years ago at the Capitol building. And last night, first change ever as part of hashtag Team Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, now my avatar on Twitter. Jay Cost says if the Obama administration is interested in diversifying the currency, they could start with the racist, tyrannical Democrat on the 20. But no, they go after Colonel Hamilton, who valued fiscal solvency and securing America's place in the world. Abolitionist, hated slavery. Bootstrapped himself to Treasury Secretary, created the U.S. economy. Richard Brookhiser is a great historian at National Review and has written a biography on Hamilton, hosted a great TV special on Hamilton. Someone had to break the news to him last night, and he eventually did tweet out some stuff. We have actually Richard Brookhiser in a second talking about Hamilton. But, first Treasury Secretary, he's the guy that determined it would be in the country's best long-term fiscal interest to pay off its debt after the war. They could have let it go. They could have not. No, we got to.
Kind of like we do now.
Right. Pretty much. But he said, we've got to pay off our debt to become the economy, the country we want to be. He's the reason our money is worth anything today. He was Washington's right-hand man on the battlefield.
Yeah.
He was Washington's right-hand man. He wrote the Federalist Papers. Well, co-wrote. One of three, of course.
Still.
And again, the competing visions of our economy as we became a country really was Hamilton, Jefferson. Jefferson, agrarian economy for the most part. Hamilton, from the sugar trade, saw what the country could be and should be if it actually became a world economic power.
Yeah, having grown up in the Caribbean, he saw exactly how that worked.
Not just farming. Not everyone's got acres and acres of sugar and beets. And
although then there was plenty
corn,
for everyone.
Soybeans, right? He said we got to be traders. We have to be able to be involved in the world. Even the story at Business Insider, who first put the story together, clear reasons to replace Jackson. Jackson, deeply flawed character, owned hundreds of slaves, executed American soldiers for desertion, most heinously oversaw the relocation of Native American tribes from lands promised in previous treaties. The Trail of Tears. That's Jackson!
Yep.
Resulted in the deaths of more than 4,000 Cherokee alone. Other tribes forcibly removed. That's Jackson. He stays on the 20. The person who had the vision for our entire economic structure will be removed from the 20, or from the 10. Why? Because Jackson's a Democrat?
Yeah, probably. Wouldn't surprise me at all if that were a part of it.
Jonah Goldberg says the Obama administration to remove first dreamer immigrant from currency. Richard Brookhiser tweeting, taking the man who made our money off the money. Stephen Ratner, who ran the Cash for Clunkers program for the Obama administration. He's no conservative, no federalist. No way Hamilton should come off the $10 bill. Our greatest financial thinker. Put a woman on the 20. Jackson did more economic harm than good, in addition to all the other stuff.
Yeah, voted against central bank and other things.
Someone else had put this together. Alexander Hamilton's worst days ranked. 1, shot in a duel. 2, bounced off the $10 bill. 3, Thomas Jefferson elected president. Somewhere in the top 3 might be son killed in duel as well.
Maybe, yeah, that would be a downer, no doubt about it.
But yeah, Jefferson elected president, also not a bright day for Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton is just, well, as you may have been able to tell, my favorite founding father. Richard Brookhiser, as I mentioned from the National Review, wrote a book, narrated a TV special a few years ago on PBS on Hamilton. This is just about 2 minutes of Brookhiser saying what was the central, what was behind Hamilton, what drove him, what made him the man he was. Listen and remember, this is the guy we're taking off the $10 bill that we're just kind of sweeping under the rug into the dustbin of history.
Here is a man. He's born in Nevis. He grows up on St. Croix. His parents are not married. His father takes off when he's 9 years old. And then his mother dies when he's 11. So at age 11, he's an illegitimate orphan in St. Croix. But he's a bright kid. He's working as a clerk in a merchant house. His boss sees how smart he is. His boss is from New York. It's the triangle trade, sugar and rum and slaves sometimes. Sees how bright this kid is. He and some other people in the islands, that they send him to New York to get educated, and they think he's going to become a doctor and come back and practice. The American Revolution happens instead, and then he's off. He has the career he has. So he comes from farther back than any of the other founding fathers, than any of the other ones. Most of them were sons of rich men, prosperous men. John Adams, middling, but successful farm family. Benjamin Franklin is, on the poor side, but they all had parents who were married, and parents who didn't abandon them or die. But so this kid, he gets a few breaks, and he makes himself to an unimaginable extent. But he doesn't pull up the drawbridge after him. He is intent on creating a society where the next Alexander Hamilton won't have to face such high odds. Because of its diversity, it won't be like St. Croix, where the only thing happening is sugar plantations worked by slaves and the trade that deals with it. That's all there is there. If you don't fit in that world, you don't fit, and there's nothing for you. So he wants a society which will have more going on, that there will be agriculture, hopefully as little worked by slaves as possible. There will be commerce, there will be merchants, but there will be manufacturing. There'll be all sorts of different kinds of businesses, because when more is available, there's a greater chance that you can find what you're suited for. So he's thinking of other people and other people like him. And I found that very inspiring.
This is the story of America in one guy. Orphan in St. Croix at the age of 11, comes to the U.S. and builds himself, bootstraps himself into a war hero, into a founder of the nation, into the right-hand man of George Washington as a colonel, into the first Secretary of the Treasury, to a highly influential post, into a position where he can shape the economy and make America a place where other stories like his are possible.
Not just possible, but frequent. Yeah, it seems like a good enough guy to yank off the money to me.
And he's being taken off the 10. Why? Joseph Lawler in the Examiner this morning takes a look. Press call late Wednesday. It's a happy coincidence the timing of the decision occurred so soon after the campaign to replace Jackson with a woman, Jack Lew said. It's the 10 that has to be changed. We have to do them sequentially, and it has to be based on security first. New anti-counterfeiting properties and some features to aid the blind on the new bill. So the explanation is it must be Hamilton, not Jackson. Must be Hamilton, the great Alexander Hamilton, not Jackson, the racist who killed soldiers and American Indians. Because the 10 is next. It's next in line. I would hate to think what would have happened if the 5 were next in line to be redesigned. Does that mean we
See, everybody
Abraham
who
Lincoln?
believes that, stand on your head that it's next in line. You know, come on. Yeah. You're going to tell me we're going to knock Lincoln out of there. It's time to put a woman on there, and sequentially speaking, we've got to go with the 5. Not a chance.
Yeah, I mean, we could have just the way the break. Sorry, Abe Lincoln fans. The 5 was next, so he is off.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We've gotten rid of him.
It was next.
Come on. Well, how much more do you want? The guy's on pennies everywhere.
So, look, the grand scheme, where does it fit? I don't know, but I think it's a pretty big deal. I think it's a big deal that we're pushing aside Alexander Hamilton and his story, what he accomplished, and the fact that there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of thought into it.
And much less deserving person maintains their hold on a piece of our currency.
20. And probably, I don't know where the numbers come into these days, but the 20 might be maybe the 20 and the 1, the most carried because of ATMs.
Right. 20s.
People have 20s all over the place.
Yeah, that's where Jean Shaheen weighed in with the fact that she was lamenting it was not the 20, not because of Alexander Hamilton being displaced or Andrew Jackson being displaced, but it should have been the 20 because a 20 is worth more than a 10. And if we're going to honor a woman that way, then we should honor her with more.
So, hashtag Team Hamilton. Not sure what we can do at this point, but it's worth making some noise. Jay Cost from the Weekly Standard was all over it. Charles C.W. Cook, Dan Foster used to be with National Review. Richard Brookhiser was talking about it. Byron York last night on Twitter. A lot of Hamilton fans out there.
Well, let's see if the chorus of raised voices can get somebody to change their mind and maybe pick another target.
And in honor of the story, we're going to spin "Don't Pull Your Love" before 9 o'clock.
By Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds. So,
right.
You didn't hear much about them. They were like lesser founding fathers.